Hey everybody, Tom with Buff Brite. Glad you came back to join us for another episode of Car Flippin'. So last week we learned some important things about the psychology of the deal as far as not getting emotion involved in what you're trying to do. And also we taught you about the 5 variables that really matter the most on having value in the car that you're buying. So, the color, the condition of the car, the mileage of the car, the desirability of the car, the options of the car, that kind of stuff that makes such a big difference in what your outcome is and how much money you make. Today we're going to go a little bit deeper. We're going to learn about the psychology of working with people to get them to make you the right deal so you can have the margin. We want it to be a win-win. We want them to be able to sell the car and be happy, but more than anything, we can't have them be happy and you not make the cash that you need to, because this is not a charity business. We want you to make some money. So let's go ahead and start the show and make some dough on Car Flippin'. Guys, well, welcome back for another episode 2, and I promise we're not going to be sitting here doing this kind of just talking to you forever. We're doing a little bit more of this. In fact, we're going to try today to get to some hands-on car stuff. We want to help you look for cars, identify cars, and know what to look for. But now we're going to talk about how to identify listings, because we need to know what we're looking for. So they're selling a used car. Most people don't sell cars unless they have a need to get rid of it. So for some reason, there's usually something that either they bought a new car, and that's usually the best way I like to buy one. Oh, I just bought a new truck, so I'm selling this one. But if they're just saying, oh, I just decided it's time to sell it, then we need to be careful. So the best ways to find, you can shop on eBay, you can shop on Craigslist, you can drive by things on the road, you can hear it from a friend, you can talk to dealers that you know and tell them to watch out for cars that maybe they don't want to keep on their lot, and that really will help. But we're looking for stuff that is outside of the box. So first thing, let's start with Craigslist, because that's the easiest one for most of us. But what we're looking for really is bad listings, because people who know how to market things, who know how to put the right pictures on and say the right things, they are usually going to get more money out of their cars, and you're not going to do as well on it. So but if you look for the ones that they've got bad pictures, no pictures at all, I actually look for pictures on Craigslist or for listings on Craigslist that have no pictures. Most people aren't going to do that. The next thing that I do, but people don't, when they first list something, is not the time to get a deal. The time to get a deal is once it drops off Craigslist. So 30 days after a list is, a ad is put on Craigslist, it's going to drop off. So I'll save that ones that look interesting to me, that I don't think are marketed very well, and I'll put them in a stack. Well, and I'll circle the date or write a date on it up front for when up top for when it ends. I revisit that stack all the time, and I'm just cycling through it. And you'll find that at that point when it drops off their calls have stopped happening. They're just like, oh, I'll take anything for this car. Work on that stack. So now it's time to make that first call. So we're going to call these people. You have a few chances, I might say, within a deal to lower the price. One of your very first ones is on that first phone call. So you want to do it a little chop at a time, like chopping down a tree. There's some certain things you want to ask when you first call that person. The first thing you want to know is, hey man, how long have you owned the car? You tell them what you're calling on. Say, how long have you owned the car? If they've only owned it a couple weeks or a couple months, that means that car's got problems, almost always. Also, you're going to ask them if it has a clean title. Don't buy stuff with a dirty title. You can't get it insured. People can't get a loan on it from that. Ask them if it's got any major dent or dings. Has it been in a wreck that they know of? Ask them what they've replaced. What have you done? Have you put a new battery in? Have you put on new tires? What have you done to the car? Ask them if everything works. Is there anything they know of that is going to need replaced right away? You can tell them you're looking for a friend, so it helps you stay emotionally uninvolved. You can ask them if there's any rust on it. And by the way, beware of these Canada vehicles that are running around. There's some nasty, rusty stuff. I've seen some really bad stuff. These are the big, basic money things. So the next one you're going to ask them is, where is it? Can I come take a look? Of course. So you set up a time with them. Now, sometimes I've actually bought some really good deals on people who are incredibly hard to reach. So people who don't put a number to call back. Now, if you do call someone that says the text mail subscriber that you've called, just get away from the deal. It's a spammer. Now's the time that you're setting up the time. You say, hey, listen, what's the least that you can take for it? I'm looking for it for a friend, or I'm looking for it for a family member, or whatever, and they're on a limited budget. What is the least that you think you'll take? You ask them what their cash $100 price is, and that don't miss this opportunity to talk them down. So that's when you're going to do that. Trying to hit them there and go down. And most people will move, $1,000 on a $4,000 car. I'm surprised how many people will move there. So now it's time to go see that car. So we're going to set a time. Now, one thing we all know as detailers, you can hide a lot with the details. So if you get over there and that car is freshly detailed, it's not your favorite way to buy them. You can add the value with the detail, but if you buy a car that's already completely detailed, and I know that there's certain things that you can make look a little better with the details. So that's what we're trying to do to it to earn some money. So first thing you're going to do, walk around the car. If it scares you, or you have a bad gut feeling, just get in your car and drive away. It's not even worth wasting their time or yours. Next thing you're going to do is you're going to look under that car while it is parked. Don't move it, don't start it, don't do anything. Just get underneath that car, look under the motor, see if it's dripping in the spot that it's at. Look at the bottom of the pan area, just see what's seeping and leaking. Next, you're going to pop the hood and feel the engine. You want to make sure that they didn't start it before you got there. A lot on a cold start can be hidden by starting the car before somebody gets there. Check the oil next before you start it. You're going to check it, make sure it's not milky. You're going to make sure that it's not got real dirty. Because if it is, the person probably didn't maintain it very well. Next, you're going to check the transmission fluid. You're going to take a sniff of it. If it smells like burnt toast, literally like burnt toast, that tranny's getting ready to go. The clutches are going out on it. So it doesn't mean you can't buy it. You just better buy it cheap. And not that there isn't other things that can happen with the transmission, but that's a big no-no on that one. Also check your level on your oil and the other at the same time, and the transmission. Also pop off the cap for the oil, where you add the oil. Look at the bottom of that. If it's all milky colored, same thing as the oil. Oil and water create kind of a creamy look, and you're going to want to stay away from that because you've probably got a head gasket going bad. Also check your radiator. Make sure it's not low. It might be showing you that there's a problem maybe midway up in the radiator that has a leak somewhere in all the fins. So now we're going to get in the car and we're going to start it. So we're going to open up the door. First thing I do is pull up on the door. I reach on the bottom, pull up, see how much door sag I've got. Because on some of the old Chevy pickups, and I'm not talking really old, I'm not talking like 2005, they'll have weak hood or hinge pins, and you'll lift up and that door will move as much as an inch at the back of the door. And if that door's sagging, it causes problems. So it's fixable, but watch out for that. Now we're going to start the car. So we're going to turn it on first, let all of our engine lights come up, take a look at it, watch our gauges flow up, all that kind of stuff. You can take a second there and turn on your radio if you want, and just make sure that stuff works. Now we're going to start the car. Don't touch the gas or anything, just start the car, and you're going to listen. Most cars will make different noises when they cold start. They'll have a higher idle, things like that. So you're going to watch out for that. And you're also going to watch out for noises that you'll hear. Sometimes you'll hear a little extra, almost like a knocking or lifter noise when a car first starts up. The one that's got bad oil pressure might take longer to build oil pressure, and it makes you worry about an oil pump. So next, before you move the car, take the car and put it into neutral. Kind of listen for a second. Put into drive. Put it into reverse, and then drive, and then reverse. And feel if you hear any clunking. If you hear a little teeny bit is okay, but a lot of clunking means you got U-joints or CV joints or something that's getting ready to go out. So if you hear something that doesn't sound right in that motor when you started it, you need to have a mechanic look at it. You don't want to spend extra money there. So next we're going to check the steering. So we're going to turn the steering lock to lock hard. So you're going to turn it all the way one side, all the way to the other side, until you hear that power steering pump kind of squeal. If it squeals really loud, you might be having a rack and pinion or a steering pump, power steering pump problem. So be careful of that. We're going to put our hand over the exhaust pipe, and we're going to kind of hold it there and see what kind of back pressure we're feeling. If it pushes your hand back pretty good, we're good. If it doesn't push your hand at all, you could have a hole in the exhaust somewhere, which you would think you could hear, or you might have a really worn out motor. Also, if the exhaust smells really sweet when you smell your hand after putting it over there, it might mean you have an antifreeze problem that's burning some antifreeze. You might be looking at a head gasket problem in the future. You also look for smoke. Is it got blue smoke? That usually means oil. If it's got a grayish or black smoke, it might be a little bit rich. Kind of a whitish smoke can be water in the fuel burning with it, or it can also be sometimes running a little lean. If it's really steaming up and getting a lot of it, then you've definitely got a head gasket problem. Take one last look around it for the tires. Look at the wear of the tires. I am actually always a little afraid of brand new tires because even though they're nice, it can hide steering problems because you can't see that wear pattern on the tires. So make sure you're watching and looking at that to see if you have a problem there. And of course, when we're doing the outside, we're inspecting the paint. That's probably one of the most important things you guys need to know. So we're going to look at door gaps. If we've got a really big gap on one and a really small gap on the other, it's probably been wrecked and redone, and they didn't adjust it quite right. That doesn't mean you can't buy the car, but it means that you need to look closer. If all the gaps are pretty even, everything seems to line up well, and we don't have any issues. You know how to judge paint. You're a detail guy. So look at it. Does it have lacquer check? Does it have issues like that? We're also looking for signs of a repaint around the edges of the moldings, in the door jambs. We're looking at paint on the edges of the trim and stuff where they might have over-taped or under-taped. And we look for that kind of stuff, and it's a telltale sign of what we need to watch out for. You can look for areas of orange peel in the paint, areas of dust in the paint. Normally from the factory, they don't have that. So you guys are probably pretty good at telling on paint what it needs. So I'm not going to go a ton into paint right now, but we will talk about some of the things that we can watch out for there. So close your hood now. Tell the guy you'll be back in a few minutes and take it for a drive. So you want to take it out and get it up to speed. I'm not saying you have to go on the interstate, but you can. You take it up to 80. You want to get it in a parking lot. You want to get it in reverse. You want to drive the car a little bit hard because you really want to check it out. Make sure if it's front wheel drive that you take it and take some hard corners in a parking lot. If you hear a clunk, 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 clunk as you turn one corner, you got a bad CV. Be watching out for that. If you hear a howl in the rig somehow, and it changes at, if you're up at 80 miles an hour, and when you apply the gas, it gets quieter, and when you let go of the gas, it gets noisier, or vice versa, you've probably got a rear end or possibly even a transfer case going out, some type of a differential problem. Little noises that don't sound right, always be afraid of. And on the drive, I explained to you how to go park to drive in an automatic. There's ways also in a standard transmission to check things. You can apply your emergency brake and check the motor the same way. Put it in like second gear or third gear, let out on the clutch a little, not all the way, and apply a little bit of gas. And for one, you'll hear that knocking noise. When you put that load on that motor, if you're hearing that knocking noise, you know there's a problem. Plus, if you put it in third gear, this is a good way to test the clutch. Put it in third gear, put the e-brake on, and let out on the clutch. If the motor dies pretty quickly, then you know your clutch is pretty good. If the motor kind of spins and takes a while to die, you got a clutch and pressure plate that's getting ready to go out. So be careful of those things. So, and be careful on a standard transmission also of synchros. So that's when you shift from one gear to, if it's kind of first gear's good, and then you go for second and there's kind of a little bit of a hard or a crunch or something, it's usually those first two gears because they get the most use. You know that you probably got a transmission problem you're looking at, and those things are internal and they don't tend to go away. Also, if you're shifting down and it won't shift into first, as you're slowing down, you want to shift down. Same thing. Your synchros in first might be bad. You can replace trannies, but they cost money, so just be careful. Always just don't play your stereo. Not a time to check the tunes. Do that when you're first in there. Right now is find out the things that are going to give you problems. Put your windows down. Drive with your windows down. Put just one side window down, then put the other side window down. Listen for things, and be a very educated buyer. And drive it a little bit hard. You know, you're not trying to blow the motor, but somebody else that's going to drive it is going to drive it hard when you go to sell it. So another thing is to check your brakes. So get up to about 35 miles an hour in a parking lot or going down the road, and let go of the wheel lightly. Maybe keep your hands there, but step on the brakes really hard. Don't lock them up, but step on them pretty hard. And if it pulls to one side or the other side, you've either got an alignment problem or you've got a brake problem. Once again, not the end of the world, but it does need to be addressed and will need to be fixed. So something to think about. If you do get any codes that come up on the motor on your test drive, just pull into Pep Boys, pull into O'Reilly's, wherever. They'll come out and scan it for you for free. So go let them plug it in. They can tell you a history of what the car's codes are that have been coming up. And if you're worried about something on the body work, stop by a body shop and just ask. They'll come out for free and just tell you. And I guarantee you they're a lot more educated on that body stuff than you are. And they'll be happy to pick it apart for you. I've done it before, and these guys love to come out. It makes them feel like they really know their stuff. And most of them do. You know, try all the windows, try all the buttons, try the heater, try the air conditioner. Just try everything, because now's your time to find it, because those are negotiating tools. And so next we're going to talk about what we do when we get back, because it's our next time to save some money.